Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bearded Bible Thinker podcast. I'm your host, Rob Grunden, and I've got an article right in front of me that talks about, I'll just read the headline quick. Judges halt plan to exclude unauthorized immigrants from count used to award seats in Congress. This is on the CBSNews.com website, and the article says this: a panel of three federal judges in New York on Thursday prohibited the Trump administration from moving forward with its plans to exclude undocumented immigrants from the count used to determine the number of seats states receive in the House of Representatives. The decision temporarily halts unprecedented proposal with potentially seismic political ramifications. That's a lot of big words. We'll get to it. At the center of Thursday's ruling is a proclamation issued by Mr. Trump in July telling Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, who oversees the U.S. Census Bureau, to facilitate the collection of data that would allow him to remove immigrants without legal status from the count used for congressional apportionment. The constitutionally mandated process to determine the number of House seats each state has occurs every 10 years after the census is taken. So what is being done here? This is more politics. It's just what it is. And they use words like unauthorized immigrants and in the headline itself. And then the first paragraph, undocumented immigrants. And for clarification, these are immigrants who can also correctly be referred to as illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. These are folks who have come here illegally, I'm not going to make a determination or a judgment publicly right now. This isn't a public statement from Rob Grunden on immigrants or the policies of immigration or any of that. I'm just going to talk real briefly about the political piece of this article and what is trying to be done here. So the President Trump, rightly, I believe, wants to make sure that people who are here illegally, again, not making a statement about the difficulty of their lives, about all that they've gone through to come here. Some of them, the image of God that they bear. I'm not talking about that. Okay. But just the fact that they are here illegally. They didn't come through the correct channels. And I know some folks who are the most frustrated about things like this I knew a couple of people who, one from Jamaica originally and one from the Dominican Republic, who I think it was Dominican. It doesn't matter. For the example, it doesn't matter. But these two folks that I know are citizens, and they worked hard for a long time to obtain citizenship in the United States of America, and they've obtained it, and it was this big, amazing thing. And now they are among the most frustrated type of folks who are, when it comes to the illegal, the left. This is the bottom line, okay? Agree or disagree, doesn't matter. This is my opinion. This is what I see. The left wants to include illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrant, however you want to refer to it, people who are not here legally. They want to include them as if they were here legally, not because they give a care about these people at all, but because it gives them more power. Because if you're the party who includes them, they will vote for your party. They will be a part of your party because you're including them. You're giving them legal status regardless of their illegal status. And so essentially they're for it because it will give them power. More power. And that really is the bottom line. That's the motive behind it. It is a political motive, not an actual humanitarian, I care about these people motive. It just, all you have to do is watch a few of these folks talk, watch some commentary, read some news articles, read some quotes, watch some speeches from it. It's obvious if you start watching the big picture, all of the things that are going on, rather than just taking in the little bit of that one particular or one of two particular information channels that you get information from. Look at the whole big picture, and you'll almost certainly arrive to the same conclusion. There's very little care about these folks, and to be fair, this is true of both sides, and in a lot of ways. There's very little care about these folks themselves. It is a lot more about politics. The thinking on from the right side is that American people first kind of a thing, and so coming here illegally means you're taking jobs away from American people. It means you're all of the people who are here legally as immigrants, or the people who have citizenship here, regardless of how, by birth or by coming through in the legal process. All of the people who have obtained citizenship here, or who were born with citizenship here, that citizenship doesn't mean anything, right? Because if a lot of things, right? A lot of things. It's there's a lot to it, but the fact that this is a news article. So a panel of 3 federal judges in New York, which is very liberal. It's very blue. Thursday, this happened. They prohibited the Trump administration from moving forward with these plans to exclude undocumented immigrants. So essentially, the undocumented immigrants are the left wants to use their numbers as well, to include their numbers as well, so that the left side of the House, in this case, will have more representatives and have a bigger majority. That's really what it's about. That's what it's about. So it's important that you investigate and use your brains and think through these things as they are differently motivated than what they will act like many times. It is. It's almost always the case that there's more behind the story, more going on behind the scenes, more going on in the heart of the matter than what is going to be displayed. What you read is what you want, or what they want you to read. Any of these news stories goes through editing processes. It goes through more than just whoever wrote this before it gets published, especially on a big news network like CBS or Huffington Post or CNN or Fox or any of these places. These statements that are here, the things that are written about, how they're written, the phrasing, all of it is checked and balanced, and it is exactly what they want you to hear. It's the message that they want you to hear. So do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Think for yourself. Let's see. Thursday's order stems from a lawsuit mounted by a coalition of states led by New York. The legal challenge is one of several filed against Mr. Trump's directive in federal courts across the country. The courts have ruled in our favor on every. This is a quote. The courts have ruled in our favor on every census matter in the last 2 years and continually rejected President Trump's unlawful efforts to manipulate the census for political purposes. New York Attorney General Letitia James, I hope I said that right, said in a statement. So the courts continue to rule in favor of the Democratic left side of that issue, it seems. Okay, here we go. According to an estimate by the Pew Research Center in California, that's a good place to get statistics. The Pew Research Center, Barna is another really good one. They do some really good studies, and they're trustworthy folks for the most part. According to an estimate by the Pew Research Center in California, Texas and Florida would get fewer seats than expected in the House of Representatives if Mr. Trump's changes are instituted. Alabama, Minnesota, and Ohio, on the other hand, would keep seats they would otherwise have lost. And so this is a what is going on here? There we go. This whole thing, the Census Bureau's effort to count people for the 2020 census, which have been hindered. It would be interested by to look at historically, have they been included or not in the census? And if they've been included, is there a part of the census? Maybe if someone does watch this on YouTube or something and would yell at me and let me know, I don't know, and I'm probably not going to research it. It's whatever. But if someone knows, maybe you could help me out. But I don't know if the census has always been one way or another here. I don't know if the undocumented or illegal immigrants are. I guess you're not an immigrant if you're illegal. You are an alien. But either way, the undocumented folks, if they've always been counted, or if there's, I don't know if there's a difference with the census if you get counted and not counted in such a way that it counts toward the House seats or anything like that. I'm not sure how that worked before, but this is just another. That politics is really taking over everything when it comes to news. It's the whole thing, and this in my mind, the House of Representatives, it only makes sense to include people who are citizens of the United States of America, because that's who the House of Representatives represents, the citizens of the United States of America. They do not represent illegal immigrants. And I'm just talking from, a pure, I care about illegal immigrants. I would much rather them do the work and put in the time if possible. I know some of them are in bad situations, right? And but it's a big struggle. It's a big problem because you do have a lot of folks who do come here for bad purposes. You have a lot of people. In fact, a lot of the families, quote, the separation thing that was such a big deal not long ago, where families were being split up. Quite honestly, a lot of those instances, if you do the research, a lot of those instances were not families at all. A lot of them are bad people trafficking children to America for sex trafficking. That is a big thing. And so when you have a couple of adults posing as parents to people they're simply trying to bring here to sex traffic, and then they get split up, I feel like the children are going to be okay with that in the long run. That was definitely sarcasm, but warranted, I think. But this is a bigger, more convoluted issue than we hear about. It is not as simple as don't build a wall, let them come over. It is also not as simple as build a wall and forget about them, forget that they exist, right? It's more convoluted and more complex than you or I know about or think about. So it's important that we do think about the immigration and the people who are kind of stuck in that process. I don't know the process. That's something that maybe all of us should get to know a little more. If we're going to have a stance on immigration, This is okay. So this is one of those things that I have a few opinions about, but I don't have like a concrete stance that I would get up and debate someone about because I don't know enough about it. And I think that we do entirely too much in the way of uh, in the way of how do I want to say this? We're entirely too opinionated about stuff that we don't know anything about. That is a major problem. We all have these just strong, can't move me opinions when we typically know very little about what the subject is that we have an opinion on. This is true in politics. It's true in theology. I hear this all the time from different folks where they'll express some very strong emotional opinion that is really only based on emotion and not on fact, not on scripture, not on what the Bible says about a particular thing. And that to a point that we get so emotionally wrapped up in it that when we do hear facts, we sweep them aside because our emotional bond to our stance is so entrenched, they're so molded together that we won't look at facts, we won't hear statistics, we don't care about them. We know we're right, and we're going forward full steam ahead. And sadly, that's the case of a lot of folks who don't know Christ and don't want to hear about their sin, and they're going full steam ahead to hell. And that's the most extreme example, of course, but it's true nonetheless, and it's one example of many examples. And I think when it comes to politics, there are a lot of people who are right wing only because that's the news they watch, that's the parenting they had, et cetera, et cetera. Not because they've thought about each of these issues, not because they know anything about any of these issues, but because they simply were raised that way and they haven't put any thought in it, and they vote that way no matter what. And it's the exact same on the left. There are people who have kind of been indoctrinated, who don't know all of the facts, who don't know anything about President Trump but hate his guts, who only believe the headlines on both sides. If there's ever a pandemic in the United States of America, in the world, that is it. We all have all of these opinions about things without any facts, without any semblance of reality, some of the things that we think. And I just want to encourage you. It's good to have opinion. It's good and healthy to have stances on things, but only be willing to share that stance and that opinion in so much as you can defend it, right? And in other words, be quick to say, based on what I know about it, it seems to me that fill in the blank. Right? But let that be your attitude instead of, you're an idiot, this is how it is no matter what, even though I haven't researched anything and I don't know anything about it. Let's not be those kind of people, right? If we're biblical people, that God gave us his word for a reason, and part of why he gave us his word is so we would read it and study it and know it, not so we would have opinions on all kinds of stuff theologically and not have any information to back it up other than our emotions and what seems like it might be right to us. And this is an example of everything else in life, right? Like we can't just go through life having opinions that are unwarranted or opinions that we can't even back up because we don't know. So only have an opinion expressed in so much as you're able to defend that opinion. And also even if you have done your research and you just know that you're right, we have to understand that changing minds and changing hearts doesn't happen because we just dive in and go, you're an idiot and you're wrong, right? That happens because we take the time. We understand that other people have different upbringings, different indoctrinations, different ways that they see things, and we need to hear from them. We need to hear what they think. We need to hear what their stories are. We need to hear why they believe what they believe, and then have conversations about it. And hopefully that leads to the truth of the Word of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ, and how that affects everything in politics and parenting and life in general and job and everything. It affects everything. The gospel is the lens. The as one of my pals says, the gospel goggles are the things that we look through to see everything else in life clearly. And so hopefully that's where the truth ends in your conversations. But it must start with honestly caring about the person or people group enough that you will listen to them and hear what they have to say. And, who knows? Even you might learn a thing or two. More sarcasm. I got to stop that. Anyway, until next time, think about it.